didn't get Sparkle, but you did get Bronya. Let's talk about building her. First and foremost, there are two ways you're going to hear Bronya referred to, fast Bronya and slow Bronya. My recommendation for you is anytime we want to speed tune a Harmony character, like Bronya, like Sparkle, and so on, the biggest difficulty you're going to face off against is certain characters who buff their speed, like Sealy, or certain characters who really don't take that many actions. If your character is Bronya or Sparkle, either or, the difficulty you're going to run into is getting them enough speed whilst keeping their crit damage relatively high. Considering they buff based on crit damage, I would say it is worthwhile to sacrifice speed for crit damage in the event that you are running them with a slow DPS. Examples of slow DPSs can include a Jing Yuan, a Blade, a Jing Liu, IL, and that is it. Sealy is a hard case to summarize because she can buff her speed dramatically. Whilst it is based on her base speed, under normal circumstances, 121 speed is multiplied by 25% and then an additional 25% if you have her E2. This can make your Sealy go up to 150 speed or above, and that's incredibly hard for a character like Bronya or Sparkle to reach. So I'd say in most circumstances, you want your Bronya around 130 speed. If you're running her with a specific unit, in this case, let's take for example, I'm running her with Jing Liu. I would want my Bronya 1 to 2 speed after my Jing Liu. The reason is that because Bronya gives 100% action forward with her skill, you want your Bronya directly after your DPS so that way she can bring them up. Comparatively speaking, Bronya and Sparkle have entirely different uses. Yes, Sparkle gives you that crit damage buff, whereas Bronya doesn't. Bronya gives you a damage bonus and a 100% action forward alongside a cleanse, whereas Sparkle only gives you 50%. What is the difference and what is the benefit? In this instance, Bronya will cleanse you from any speed down debuffs you're currently undergoing. If a character, for instance, is at, let's say hypothetically right now, my Bronya is at 129 speed, and she's running right alongside Jing Liu. If Jing Liu gets hit and her speed is reduced down to 110, she's much lower. Bronya advancing that action forward not only brings Jing Liu up to be the next acting character, but also resets her speed to back to what it originally was, whereas Sparkle won't do that for you. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean Bronya or Sparkle are better or worse characters. Yes, Eidolons can change it, and I do think if you're referring to Eidolons, Sparkle has better ones long term, whereas Bronya becomes a bit of a sub DPS with her E4, for example. And then her E6 does give you additional turn durations, which can mean that you are, in turn, saving skill points. But I do think her E1 is pretty good if you do get it. Regardless of circumstance, for traces, Bronya has two ones you want to consider. Her burst, and then her skill. Both of these are valuable. Her skill is just a flat out damage percent bonus, and in this instance, damage percent is secondary to crit rate and or crit damage, depending on which one you need more of. All of her major traces are useful. I'm gonna be honest, the 100% crit rate for her basic attack sounds nice on paper because you always crit, but her damage is not high enough to make it worthwhile building into. This is why if you're going for relics, you can go for wind damage bonus, but I would recommend going for defense or HP, whatever keeps her alive and whichever one you have just lying around. The only reason I'm using this wind damage bonus is because it has a lot of crit damage. That is legitimately it. Outside of that, since we're on the topic, let's talk relics. I could comfortably say that yes, Hackerspace is a good set, but a 4-piece Hackerspace is a bit iffy in my opinion. 4-piece Hackerspace gives you 12% speed. This is wonderful in most circumstances, but it can mess up your speed tuning because of a few very simple reasons. Every character has a different base speed. As you see here, this is 129 here for my Bronya, and Jing Liu is 130. You may think this 12% speed buff would be relatively similar for both of them, but it depends entirely on their base speed set here, which is 96 for Jing Liu, and for Bronya it is 99. Bronya is going to get more speed from that 12% buff than Jing Liu, which can mess up your entire purpose of speed tuning. So I would say, if you're going to build up Bronya and you don't care about speed tuning, yes, that 12% speed bonus from 4-piece Hackerspace is fine, but I would say, and I would actually prefer you to go for 2-piece Guard, 2-piece Messenger, 2-piece Messenger alongside anything else, or 4-piece Musketeers. Because keep in mind, this 6% speed is the exact same as a full 4-piece Musketeers. And then for her main set, for the SU1, I would just go for Broken. Even though there may be sets coming out later on to give you more crit damage, the benefit of this is the effect resistance. Bronya can cleanse other characters with debuffs, but Bronya herself can still get affected by them. So my personal recommendation, go with Broken Keel for the effect resistance. Go with that because the crit damage not only gives you a base 10% crit damage to all of your allies, but that 10% also applies to her. This means that she's buffing more crit damage because of her ultimate. Now that's enough about her kit. What about her light cones? You have options, but the battle isn't over is her best one. I would say, and I do understand people may be looking at Sparkle's light cone. The 32% crit damage is essentially the only reason I would comfortably recommend this one. Yes, at the start of the battle, you're getting a bunch of bonuses here, but beyond those 3 turns, the bonuses are incredibly difficult to get back because Bronya needs to essentially do 4 basic attacks to get back those 4 skill points, which gets you 4 masks. Because Bronya has no real reliable way to generate those skill points outside of her basic attack, I don't recommend it. There are some issues with her basics, and I'm just going to go over them now. The action forward that you get from her basic attack sounds nice on paper, but it can once again mess up a little bit of speed tuning, so it's kind of iffy. This is why I don't recommend using her basic attack too often. So in turn, if she doesn't want a basic attack and her entire buff is focused around her burst and then her skill, you aren't generating that many skill points. There are a few ways you have. It is from But the Battle Isn't Over, which isn't necessarily able to be used alongside Sparkle's Light Cone, and her E1. Her E1 having a 50-50 chance means that if you are just on average going by that 50-50 metric, you have to do 8 skills to hope to get the 4 skill points you need to proc Earthly Escapade. It's not worth it. Just go with But the Battle Isn't Over if you have it. If you don't, there are other options. Bronya's 100% action forward means that past and future is really good for her because nobody's going to be overtaking at character. If Bronya buffs your Seelie is acting next. Same thing with anyone else. Past self and mirror, it's not good. Yes, I understand many individuals may be looking at the energy that's given to your entire team, but beyond that, the 24% damage bonus is nice, but Bronya exceeds that with just her skill alone. The ultimate that's providing you with a crit damage bonus, crit damage is better than damage percent, and you would much rather have something that either gives you energy, like her own signature does, or any other light cone, or just more damage percent for her usual ability, which is just making another character act. If you have the battle pass, go with that. If you have dance, go with that. More action advance forward means more actions, means more turns, means more damage. And even though Memories of the Past sounds nice on paper, and it is good for most circumstances, Bronya won't be basic attacking too much depending on how you use her. So I can't recommend this as heavily as I would Past and Future. And even though Planetary Rendezvous is good, the only person she'd be buffing is a HoYoverse and a Blade, who many of you won't be using, along with Dan Heng, but he's a 4-star character. I don't know how many of you actually use him. Now, Meshing Cogs is similar to Memories of the Past, but unless your Bronya is being hit, which she likely isn't because she's not a Fox character like Yukong and Ting Yun, I can't recommend it. In my opinion, But the Battle Isn't Over is still her best option, followed by Past and Future, then Cardamom Weave the Clouds is equal to Dance. After that, I would say go for Memories of the Past if you're going to be basic attacking, but if not, you can go with any other option. 4-star Light Cones hold better stats for her, but I'd say Meshing Cogs is better overall because she has a chance of being hit and getting more energy. And that's Bronya. She's not necessarily the same as Sparkle, and I do think there's some instances where you prefer Sparkle over Bronya, but I do think both of them are great characters. Keep in mind that you don't need to solely prioritize crit damage. For Sparkle, for example, 160 crit damage is perfectly fine. Beyond that, it's not necessary, especially if you're sacrificing other substats. I would say get to a decent stat point of 160, maybe 170, and then prioritize stuff like effect resistance, or anything beyond that. As you see here, I only have 28, which isn't enough to proc and maximize the effect of Broken Keel. But I don't care. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like down below, consider subscribing, and I will see you next time.